Hello experts and scholars, I'm Jing. Today I would like to share with you the following topics: symptoms of depression and anxiety in Chinese adolescents, heterogeneity and associations with executive function. Depression and anxiety are the most prevalent and onerous mental health problems among adolescents worldwide and are profoundly concerning. Research on the global prevalence of mental disorders among children and adolescents indicates that approximately 25% of adolescents suffer from depression and anxiety. Empirical studies indicate that mental health problems are significant risk factors for poor social psychological outcomes and behavioral problems. The high rates of mental health problems among adolescents and substantial costs of their treatment necessitate the identification of risk factors for depression and anxiety among adolescents. The role played by executive function (EF) is an important factor in revealing the complex constellation of biological and environmental effects on mental health problems. EF is a multi-phased construct. Certain empirical studies show that executive dysfunction underlies most mental disorders, and poor EF can negatively impact emotion regulation, which may in turn lead to future depression and anxiety. Although there have been previous studies, but solely employing the association of EF with a single mental health problems may not be comprehensive. Determining the association of depression and anxiety with EF in adolescents is essential to elucidating internalizing disorders as well as more optimized interventions for anxiety and depression among the youth. Previous studies have confirmed heterogeneity among individuals with depression and anxiety symptoms. Previous studies have mainly used variable certain approaches, which are based on the assumption of homogeneity within a sample, without considering individual factors and disregarding important information on individuals. This is not conducted to elucidating the heterogeneity of depression and anxiety symptoms. To address this limitation and elucidate mental health problems, recent research has used latent profile analysis (LPA) to explore the pattern of depression and anxiety. In addition, most studies only focus on the association between EF and depression or anxiety, disregarding the association between EF and the heterogeneity of mental health problems. This man can conceal significant information on the individuals and hinder the prevention of specific reference for future individual intervention research on different types of depression and anxiety. This challenge can be overcome by employing LPA. We invited a middle school and an elementary school in Yinchuan to participate in this cross-sectional study. Students were selected via a stratified cluster group sampling method, and 2 to 3 class was randomly selected for each grade. The final sample comprised 1306 adolescents from 2 schools. Participants aged ranged from 10 to 18 years. The study produced was approved by the Institutional Review Board after obtaining the cooperation of school administrators and the informed consent of parents and students. The survey was conducted in classroom by research staff. The tools we use are as follows. The LPA results show that the three profile model was the best fitting model for adolescent depression and anxiety symptoms. The first profile was characterized by the fewest symptoms of depression and anxiety and was labeled as a healthy group. The second profile, who scored above average SCARED levels but scored a DSRSC mean below clinical cutoff, suggesting that this profile constituted adolescents with self-reported anxiety symptoms without clinical depression. This profile was labeled the anxiety symptom group. The third profile, whose score reflected the most severe self-reported symptoms of depression and anxiety. This profile was labeled the depression-anxiety symptom group. Compared with a healthy group, results from the multivariate logistic regression analysis indicate that Petro-EF was significantly associated with latent profile after adjusting for social demographic characteristics. In the logistic model, only inhibitory control, emotion shift, emotional control, task completion, and working memory reached a significant level. Our LPA results suggest that the current sample of adolescents is more consistent with the three latent profiles model. In addition, consistent with these unique patterns of symptom occurrence, we found that each profile was associated with a different EF aspects. Similar to the cluster analytic studies of mental health problems in adolescents, this study confirms depression-anxiety heterogeneity in adolescents, delineated by the three main profiles of mental health problem subtypes. Similar to previous studies, we identified one profile of participants with significant depression and anxiety symptoms. Owing to an overlap of symptoms and shared etiological factors during adolescence, depression and anxiety disorders frequently occur simultaneously. Meanwhile, we identified a subgroup that only exhibited anxiety symptoms. Our study result may indicate that depressive symptoms in adolescents often occur in combination with anxiety symptoms, and that clinicians need to consider anxiety in the diagnosis and treatment of depression. The current study also prioritizes the determination of the Petro-EF that is significantly associated with the latent profile of mental health problems. Although both profiles exhibited reduced EF, emotion shift and emotional control were found to be more associated with the depression-anxiety symptom group. In construct, inhibitory control, task completion, and working memory were only associated with the anxiety symptom group. Previous studies have shown that poor emotion shift or emotional control may undermine resilience to coping with difficulties by attenuating effective coping skills. Moreover, emotion shift capacity and emotional control underlie emotion regulation ability. Lower levels of these skills are associated with reduced ability to effectively regulate emotions, which in turn increase vulnerability to depression and anxiety. Working memory and task completion are also important predictors in the present study. Impairments in working memory can attenuate the control of the attention system, which may lead to increased anxiety, and failed task completion may cause anxiety. Our results show that task completion ability was significantly impaired in the anxiety symptom group. Overall, our result verifies the correlation between poor task completion and increased severity in anxiety. We hope this result will provide a novel avenue for the promotion of interventions for patients with anxiety. Finally, after examining the three profiles EF, individuals with more optimized inhibitory control were found to be more prone to anxiety. A previous study suggested that adolescents with greater inhibitory control consider themselves as generally being in control and are typically able to resist impulse and consider consequences before acting, thereby reducing their risk of mental health problems. Interestingly, this is consistent with the result we obtained. This discrepancy may be attributed to the cognitive resource hypothesis, which says that the overuse inhibitory control could be contribute to cognitive resource defects that in turn contribute to the risk of anxiety. Therefore, clinicians should be highly alert to the possibility of emotional disorder when confronting adolescents with impairment in EF. Meanwhile, a systematic and comprehensive assessment of executive functioning should be considered in the diagnosis of anxiety and depression disorders in adolescents. In particular, for individuals with impairment in emotion shift and emotional control, but with highly inhibitory control, clinicians may need to introduce psychological counseling and emotional regulation at an early stage. In addition, intervention training for EF is crucial. This measure will help mitigate anxiety and depression symptoms as well as disease risk in adolescents. Generally, the current study identifies three distinct symptom subgroups in the occurrence of depression and anxiety in a sample of Chinese adolescents. The subgroup exhibiting symptoms of mental health problems displayed more obvious EF damage than healthy individuals. In addition, our findings suggest the development of individual intervention strategies to improve mental health among adolescents based on the association of different symptom patterns of depression and anxiety with specific aspects of EF. For individuals with significant symptoms of depression and anxiety, the focus can be improving their emotion shift and emotional control capacity. Based on the improvement of the two abilities mentioned above, these two only exhibited symptoms of anxiety should integrate the promoting of working memory and task completion abilities and make appropriate adjustment to their inhibitory control skills. Thank you for listening.